Hey guys, tonight we dive into 10 enjoyable ways to practice English alone, setting the stage for your personal language journey. Picture this: you're in your favorite spot at home, maybe curled up on the couch or nestled by a window where the afternoon light streams in just right. The air is calm, the clock ticks softly, and you're about to take off on a solo adventure with English, a journey where the only companion you need is yourself. But before you get too cozy, here's a cheeky reality check: you probably won't survive this if you expect instant perfection or a magic pill. Language learning is a slow dance, not a sprint. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, drop your location and local time in the comments. Yes, I'm curious where you are as you listen to this. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Practicing English alone is like being a lone explorer charting unknown lands. Historically, some of the greatest minds learned languages solo, often surrounded only by their books and thoughts. For example, Leonardo da Vinci was largely self-taught in multiple languages, mixing curiosity with dedication. But here's a quirky tidbit: some people talk to their houseplants in English, believing it helps both their language skills and the plant's growth. While science still argues whether plants respond to language, the act itself forces you to practice pronunciation and form sentences. A win-win. This episode will gently guide you through 10 fun, practical ways to make English practice enjoyable and effective all by yourself. No pressure, no judgment, just your voice, your pace, and your space. Remember, the key is consistency sprinkled with a dash of creativity, like seasoning in a recipe. So, what's first on our list? Talking to yourself, a surprisingly underrated powerhouse for fluency. Talking to yourself might feel a little odd at first, like you've suddenly become your own favorite podcast guest, but trust me, it's one of the most effective ways to boost your English skills alone. Imagine standing in front of the mirror, making silly faces, or narrating your day out loud. When you speak to yourself, you get to practice fluency without any fear of judgment. Unlike real conversations where the pressure is on, here you can mess up, repeat phrases, and experiment with new words freely. In fact, research shows that self-talk can significantly improve language retention and confidence. Historically, this method isn't new. Ancient Roman rhetoricians practiced speeches alone for hours, perfecting their oratory skills before stepping into the public arena. You're in good company. And here's a quirky fact: some language learners have used voice-activated smart assistants as their audience, chatting with Siri or Alexa to simulate conversations. While historians still argue whether talking to oneself can help with long-term language retention, many language experts agree it reduces anxiety and builds a natural speaking rhythm. Try creating scenarios in your mind: order coffee, describe your day, or argue with yourself about the best pizza topping. The more vivid the mental picture, the easier it becomes to recall vocabulary naturally. Plus, your inner dialogue becomes a playground for grammar practice, pronunciation drills, and spontaneous thinking. So next time you catch yourself talking alone, don't shy away, embrace it. You're training your brain and voice muscles in the most private and pressure-free environment possible. Music, what a magical tool for practicing English alone. You might think, sure, I love singing in the shower, but how does that help my English? Well, it helps more than you realize. Listening to songs in English lets you immerse yourself in natural rhythm, slang, and pronunciation. When you dive into lyrics, you're not just passively enjoying a catchy tune, you're training your ear to catch nuances in tone, stress, and emotion. Singing along, even off-key, builds muscle memory for sounds that might not exist in your native language. Historically, music has always been a language teacher. Consider the bardic traditions of medieval Europe, where storytellers sang epic tales that preserved language and history alike. Even today, many language learners swear by Beatles or Taylor Swift lyrics as their secret curriculum. Here's a quirky tidbit: some linguists suggest that certain lullabies worldwide share similar melodic patterns, possibly easing language learning in early childhood. Historians still argue whether music's emotional connection makes it the most effective learning tool, but its motivational power is undeniable. Make a playlist of your favorite English songs, print out or find lyrics online, and follow along as you listen. Don't just sing it, try to understand every phrase. Pause, repeat tricky lines, and mimic the singer's pronunciation and intonation. This active engagement turns music into an immersive language lesson, all done comfortably in your room. Bonus: dancing is optional, but highly recommended for extra fun and energy. Who said learning English couldn't come with a personal dance party? Watching movies and series alone might sound like pure entertainment, but with a bit of strategy, it becomes one of the most immersive and fun ways to practice English. Picture yourself sinking into your favorite chair, popcorn nearby, ready to dive into a story where every line spoken is a lesson waiting to happen. The trick is to watch actively and not just letting the story wash over you, but engaging with the language. Subtitles can be your best friend here, but only if you use them wisely. Start with English subtitles to match sounds with words, then try watching without them to challenge your comprehension. Historically, the golden age of Hollywood spread English worldwide through films, teaching countless non-native speakers colloquial phrases and accents. For instance, during World War II, American movies were used as informal English classes in Allied countries. Here's a quirky fact: some linguists found that people who watch soap operas in English tend to pick up everyday conversational phrases faster than those studying textbooks. Historians still argue whether binge watching is more effective than spaced viewing, but either way, it's a pleasant way to soak in the language. To maximize learning, pause scenes to repeat lines, mimic actors' intonation, and jot down unfamiliar words or expressions. Try shadowing where you speak along with the actor in real time, which trains your fluency and accent simultaneously. Mixing genres is also helpful: comedies for slang, dramas for emotional expression, and documentaries for formal language. Just remember, the goal isn't to finish the movie in one sitting but to savor the language it offers. So, grab that remote and let your solo movie nights turn into powerful English practice sessions. Reading aloud is a surprisingly powerful way to practice English alone. It's like giving your voice a gentle workout while feeding your brain with fresh vocabulary and sentence structures. When you read silently, your mind might skim or skip over tricky words, but reading out loud forces you to slow down and notice pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation. Plus, it activates the muscles used for speaking, helping you develop a natural flow over time. Historically, orators and actors relied heavily on reading aloud to master their craft. In ancient Greece, actors would rehearse lengthy speeches vocally to memorize and perfect delivery. Here's a quirky tidbit: some people claim that reading poetry aloud boosts memory and emotional connection to language even more than prose. Historians still argue whether silent or oral reading is more beneficial for language learners, but many experts agree that combining both yields the best results. Pick books, articles, or even your favorite blog posts in English and read them aloud daily. Don't worry about sounding perfect, the goal is consistent practice. Try varying your tone as if you're telling a story or giving a dramatic performance. It makes the process enjoyable and memorable. Record yourself if you want to track progress or spot pronunciation challenges. Remember that old children's book you loved as a kid. Revisiting it aloud can bring both nostalgia and a comfortable way to practice fluency. Give your voice a little stage, and watch your English skills grow. Journaling daily in English might sound like a quiet, solitary task, but it's surprisingly one of the most dynamic ways to practice your language skills alone. When you write down your thoughts, dreams, or even mundane to-do lists, you engage with English actively, organizing ideas, choosing vocabulary, and crafting sentences that reflect your voice. Unlike structured exercises, journaling is flexible. You control the topic, tone, and length, which makes it less intimidating and more enjoyable. Historically, diaries have offered a window into people's private lives, but they also served as language practice tools. For instance, Samuel Pepys, The famous 17th century English diarist wrote daily entries that unintentionally captured evolving language patterns. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some psychologists suggest journaling in a foreign language can boost emotional intelligence by encouraging deeper self-reflection. Historians still argue whether journaling or conversational practice is more effective for fluency, but most agree that writing strengthens your grasp on grammar and vocabulary. Start small. Commit to writing a few sentences about your day or your feelings. Don't stress about perfection. The goal is consistency and self-expression. Over time, you'll notice new words and phrases creeping into your entries naturally. Bonus tip: occasionally read your old journals aloud to connect writing with speaking practice. This low-pressure, creative activity creates a safe space for mistakes, growth, and personal connection with the language. So grab a notebook or open your favorite app and let your thoughts flow in English. Practicing with language apps and iCompanions is like having a personal English tutor in your pocket, available anytime, anywhere, and without judgment. These tools offer interactive lessons, real-time feedback, and conversation simulations designed to adapt to your level. Whether you're brushing up on vocabulary, practicing pronunciation, or trying to hold a basic conversation, apps make solo study dynamic and engaging. Historically, language learning was limited to classrooms and textbooks, but the digital revolution changed everything. Since the early 2000s, platforms like Rosetta Stone and Duolingo have democratized access to language education worldwide. Here's a quirky tidbit: some chatbots have been designed with a sense of humor to keep learners entertained and motivated, even throwing jokes your way when you get stuck. Historians still argue whether AI-driven learning can fully replace human teachers, but most agree it's a powerful supplement. Choose apps that focus on speaking and listening, not just vocabulary drills. Many now use speech recognition to help you practice pronunciation. Some even allow voice conversations with AI personas, simulating real chats without the stress of human interaction. The key is to treat these sessions as casual practice and not high-pressure tests. Bonus: many apps let you track progress, giving you a sense of achievement as you move forward. So, whenever you have a few free minutes, pull out your phone and have a friendly chat with your digital tutor. Recording yourself and playing it back is like having a mirror for your voice. It reveals what you hear versus what others actually hear. When you listen to your own speech, you catch pronunciation slips, awkward pauses, or rhythm issues that you might miss in real time. This self-feedback loop is crucial for solo learners, giving you a chance to tweak your accent and fluency without a partner. Historically, before the age of recording devices, actors and orators had to rely on memory or external coaches to improve their delivery. The invention of the phonograph in the late 19th century revolutionized how performers practiced, allowing them to hear themselves objectively. Here's a quirky tidbit: many famous singers are known to be perfectionists, endlessly listening to their recordings to refine their sound. Historians still argue whether constant self-critique can help or hinder confidence, but most agree balanced use of recording aids progress. Start simply: pick a passage from a book, a song, or even your own journal entry and record yourself reading it aloud. Play it back, note areas where you stumble, and try again. Over time, you'll notice your speech becoming clearer, more confident, and natural. Bonus tip: combine this with shadowing native speakers by recording yourself mimicking their intonation and pacing. This method is your secret weapon for refining your spoken English in private, with zero pressure and full control. Playing word games and puzzles solo might sound like just a bit of lighthearted fun, but it's actually a clever way to stretch your vocabulary and keep your brain sharp. Crossword puzzles, word searches, Scrabble apps, or even mobile games like word jumbles engage you actively in recalling words, spelling them correctly, and sometimes learning new ones without feeling like studying. Plus, they add an element of challenge and excitement that can keep motivation high. Historically, word games have entertained and educated for centuries. For example, the first known crossword puzzle appeared in a 1913 New York newspaper and quickly became a favorite pastime. Here's a quirky tidbit: Some cryptic crosswords use wordplay so tricky that they've been called verbal acrobatics, demanding creative thinking alongside vocabulary knowledge. Historians still argue whether these puzzles improve language fluency or just test existing skills, but their role in engaging learners is undeniable. Try setting a daily challenge for yourself: solve one puzzle, learn 5 new words from it, then use those words in sentences or your journal. There are countless apps and websites with games tailored to English learners at every level. Even simple games like Hangman or word association can boost your mental agility. So, next time you're waiting for the bus or need a break, fire up a word gamia. It's practice disguised as play, and that's the best kind. Shadowing native speakers is a powerful, almost theatrical technique where you mimic a speaker's words, rhythm, and intonation in real time. Imagine yourself as an actor stepping into the shoes of a character, repeating their lines immediately after hearing them. This method trains your mouth, ears, and brain to work in harmony, helping you sound more natural and fluent without needing a conversation partner. Historically, shadowing gained popularity among interpreters and language learners in the 20th century as a way to internalize language patterns quickly. For example, diplomats and translators used it to sharpen their listening and speaking skills before live assignments. Here's a quirky tidbit: some language learners use movie quotes or famous speeches for shadowing, turning their living room into a mini theater. Historians still argue whether shadowing alone can replace interactive speaking practice, but its benefits for pronunciation and rhythm are well documented. To start, pick short audio clips from podcasts, interviews, or films with clear speech. Play a sentence, pause, and immediately repeat it aloud, trying to match the speaker's tone, stress, and speed. Over time, reduce the pause until you're repeating almost simultaneously. Bonus tip: record yourself shadowing and compare it to the original to fine-tune your accent. This immersive technique is your backstage pass to sounding like a native speaker, all from your living room stage. Building a personal English corner is more than just setting up a desk or a comfy chair. It's about creating a cozy, inspiring space that invites you to immerse yourself daily in the language. When you surround yourself with English books, notes, posters, or even little reminders, your brain starts associating that space with learning and creativity. It becomes your sanctuary for practice, free from distractions and full of motivation. Historically, writers and scholars often had special nooks dedicated to their work. Think of Jane Austen's small writing table or Einstein's cluttered desk filled with notes. Here's a quirky tidbit: some language learners place sticky notes with new vocabulary around their rooms or on everyday objects, turning the environment itself into a living dictionary. Historians still argue whether a physical space is essential for learning, but many psychologists emphasize the power of environmental cues in habit formation. Start by choosing a quiet corner with good lighting, preferably near a window for fresh air. Fill it with resources like English novels, dictionaries, flashcards, or your favorite journal. Add personal touch as a comfy cushion, inspiring quotes, or even plants to make it inviting. The key is consistency. When you sit there, your brain knows it's time to focus on English. Over time, this space becomes a comforting ritual, boosting both productivity and enjoyment. So go ahead, claim your English corner. It's your little corner of the world where language magic happens. Engaging with podcasts and audiobooks in English is like having a private teacher whispering stories, ideas, and conversations directly into your ears, anytime you want. This form of practice sharpens your listening skills, exposes you to varied accents and expressions, and helps you pick up the natural flow of the language, all while multitasking or relaxing. Whether you're cooking, commuting, or lying in bed, these audio resources turn ordinary moments into immersive learning opportunities. Historically, storytelling through spoken word has been a cornerstone of education and culture, long before printed books. For example, the ancient Greeks shared knowledge through oral epics and dialogues. Here's a quirky tidbit: some modern linguists claim that listening to audiobooks can improve pronunciation more than traditional reading, as you mimic the narrator's voice and pacing. Historians still argue whether passive listening alone is enough for fluency, but active listening combined with shadowing or note-taking makes it a potent practice. Try choosing podcasts or audiobooks on topics you love, at a level just right for you and not too hard to discourage, but challenging enough to learn. Pause occasionally to repeat sentences or jot down new phrases. If you listen regularly, your brain will start recognizing patterns and vocabulary naturally, building comprehension without the pressure to produce immediately. So next time you have a few minutes free, pop in your headphones and let the English voices guide you gently through your day. Teaching English to an imaginary student might sound a little quirky, but it's a surprisingly effective solo practice method. When you explain grammar rules, vocabulary, or pronunciation aloud as if you were the teacher, you solidify your own understanding. It forces you to organize thoughts clearly, anticipate questions, and use language actively. Plus, playing the teacher boosts confidence, making you more comfortable speaking English overall. Historically, the copyright copyright teaches the master method has roots in ancient education. Philosophers like Socrates encourage teaching as a way to deepen one's knowledge. Here's a quirky tidbit: some language learners use stuffed animals or dolls as their students, making lessons more playful and less intimidating. Historians still argue whether teaching can fully replace conversation with real people, but the cognitive benefits of verbalizing explanations are well documented. Start by picking a grammar topic, a set of new words, or a common English phrase you want to master. Then, explain it out loud as if your imaginary student has questions. Use simple language and examples, and don't be afraid to pause or correct yourself. You can even pretend to quiz your student or role-play dialogues. This exercise taps into both your speaking and critical thinking skills, making solo study interactive and dynamic. So, grab your classroom, and enjoy the spotlight. You're the teacher and the star student rolled into one. Setting micro goals and celebrating small wins is like giving yourself tiny bursts of motivation along the often winding road of learning English alone. Instead of aiming to become fluent overnight, an unrealistic and stressful goal, you break your journey into manageable, achievable steps. Whether it's learning 5 new words a day or finishing a short podcast episode, these little victories build momentum and make the process feel rewarding and fun. Historically, the power of small goals has been recognized in education and psychology. For example, the ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle emphasized gradual improvement as the path to excellence. Here's a quirky tidbit: some learners use reward systems like stickers or treats to celebrate milestones, turning study sessions into mini parties. Historians still argue whether intrinsic or extrinsic motivation works best for long-term learning, but a mix of both keeps most learners engaged. Create a list of specific, bite-sized goals that fit your schedule and interests. Track your progress in a journal or app, and don't forget to celebrate when you hit the aim, whether it's a self-high five, a favorite snack, or a break to watch a funny video. These small rewards reinforce positive habits and help you stay consistent. Remember, the journey is as important as the destination, so enjoy each step, no matter how tiny it seems. Your future fluent self will thank you for every single one. Reflecting on progress and staying consistent is the quiet yet powerful finale to your solo English practice journey. It's easy to overlook how far you've come when you're caught up in daily routines, but pausing to review your growth boosts motivation and highlights areas needing attention. Consistency isn't about perfection, it's about showing up regularly, embracing mistakes, and keeping your curiosity alive. When you make practice a habit, English becomes less of a task and more a natural part of your day. Historically, many great learners kept journals or logs to chart their progress, from Renaissance scholars to modern polyglots. For instance, Benjamin Franklin famously tracked his moral and intellectual improvements meticulously, demonstrating the power of reflection. Here's a quirky tidbit: some language learners keep progress playlists of recordings or writings from different stages to hear or see their evolution over time. Historians still argue whether formal tracking is necessary, but the psychological benefits of reflection are well accepted. Set aside a few minutes each week to review your journal entries, recordings, or app milestones. Celebrate improvements, however small, and identify challenges without judgment. Adjust your goals if needed, and remember that plateaus are a normal part of learning, not a dead end. Consistency is your best friend. A little by little, day by day, you're weaving English into the fabric of your life. So keep going, knowing that every word spoken or written alone is a step toward fluency.